Pastoralist in the Modern World. This is the fifth chapter of class 9th history. In this chapter, you will see how pastoralism has been important in societies like India and Africa. You will learn about the way colonialism impacted their lives and how they had coped with the pressure of modern society. The chapter will first focus on India and then on Africa. To understand the chapter better, you need to understand some of the characteristics. Pastoral nomads depend primarily on animals rather than crops for survival. The animals provide milk and their skins and their hair are used for clothing and shelter. Some of the nomads obtain grains from sedentary subsistence farmers in exchange for animal products. Sometimes the women and children may plant crops at a fixed location while the rest of the group travel with their herds. These are some of the important points which you need to remember throughout this chapter. Nomads, pastoralists, Bhabar, Bugyal, Kharif, Rabi and Kafila. These are the important pastoral communities in India. Gujar Bakalwals of Jammu and Kashmir, Gaddi shepherds of Himachal Pradesh, Bhotiyas of Uttarakhand, Raikas of Rajasthan, Banjaras of Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh, Maldharis of Gujarat, Dhangars of Maharashtra, Kurumas, Kurubas, Golas of Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. So now let's start with the chapter and see how they earn their livings. So let's start with the movement of mountain nomads. Remember, the cycle of movement is between winter and summer season. Let's take the example of Gujar Bakrwals. Even today, the Gujar Bakrwals of Jammu and Kashmir are great herders of goat and sheep. Many of them migrated to these regions in the 19th century in search of pastures for their animals. Gradually, over the decades, they established themselves in the area and moved annually between their summer and winter grazing grounds. In winter, when the high mountains were covered with snow, they lived with their herds in the low hills of the Shivalik ranges. The dry scrub forest here provided pasture for their herds. By the end of the April, they began their northern march for their summer grazing grounds. Similar pattern is being followed by the Gaddi shepherds of Himachal Pradesh. In winter, movement towards the low hills of the Shivaliks, and in summer, they move back to the Lahul and Spiti. You can also talk about the Gujar kettles herders of Kumaon and Grahwals. The Bhotiyas, Shepras and Kinauri also follow the same pattern. This pattern of cyclic movement between summer and winter pasture was typical of many pastoral communities of the Himalayas. All of them had to adjust to the seasonal changes and make effective use of available pasture in different places. When the pasture was exhausted or unusable in one place, they moved their herds and flocked to the new areas. This continuous movement allows the pasture to recover. It prevents their overuse. Not all pastoralists operated in the mountains. They were also to be found in the plateaus, plains and deserts of India. Take the example of Dhangars of Maharashtra. The Dhangars stay in the central plateau of Maharashtra during the monsoon. This is a semi-arid region with low rainfall and poor soil. It was covered with thorny scrubs. Nothing but dry crop like bajra could be sown here. In the monsoon, this tract became a vast grazing ground for the Dhangars. And by October, the Dhangar harvested their bajra and started to their move towards Konkan. This was a flourishing agriculture tract with high rainfall and rich soil. Here, the shepherds were welcomed by Konkani peasants. After the Kharif harvest was cut at this time, the field had to be fertilized and made ready for the Rabi harvest. Dhangar flocks manured the field. The Konkani peasants also gave supplies of rice which the shepherds took back to the plateau, where grains was scarce. With the onset of the monsoon, the Dhangar moved back to the plateau. The same movement is being followed by the Golas who had kettles and Kurumas and Kurubas who reared sheep and goats. The Banjaras were yet another well-known group of graziers in search of good pasture land for their cattle. They move long, very long distance, selling plug kettles and other goods to villagers in exchange for grains and fodder. The same goes with the Raikas of Rajasthan. So in this video, we saw that the life of these pastoral groups, who sustained by a careful consideration of a host of factors, they had to judge how long the herds could stay in one area and know where they could find water and pasture. They needed to calculate the timing of their movement and ensure that they could move through different territories. They had to set up a relationship with the farmers on the way so that the herds could graze in harvested fields and manure the soil. They combine a range of different activities, cultivation, trade, and herding to make their living. That's all for this lecture. Thank you.